I've spent several hours losing horrifically on First Days of Atlantis to try and understand some of its gameplay nuances, and some things I still don't quite get. But one thing's for clear, it's a card game strategy game all about building up Atlantis and generating enough revenue and money to hit goals and continue building. It's procedurally generated, so every time you play there's a different map to get stuck into, and the reason why that's important is because building placement is vital to everything that happens in First Days of Atlantis. Let me take you through how a game plays out and hopefully be informative as I go. Every game starts off with a procedurally generated island of Atlantis for you to build on. All of these spaces are hexagonal and there'll be different types of terrain. So for instance, you'll have grass to plant seeds. Some of that grass will be considered extra fertile, which will double your yield. You have places like rocks and mountains where you can put on different buildings. There's occasionally some like stone circles where you can put on temples. And you can place any of these buildings wherever you want, but there are specific locations that work better. For instance, the temple, if you put it in a place that's got a stone kind of circle, it has a bigger sphere of influence for what that building does. And the reason why we're talking about spheres of influence is that every time you place down a new building from a card, it generates gold for you. And the whole concept of this game is to generate enough gold to cross the next threshold to be given a new set of cards before you run out of cards to play. So a turn is choose a card, place it down, and then see what money is generated by everything that you've previously laid down on Atlantis beforehand, and then choose your next card and go from there. But all of the different buildings have different stats and attributes which put them into categories where you want to put them close together. So for example, if you put down a tavern, any villa or house that's in its circle of influence will generate extra gold for the tavern. Same for temples, it's got a sphere of influence that will bring up everything for it. When you put down a harbour, if it's next to some fisheries in its sphere of influence, they'll generate more gold for you as well. You can then really double or nothing by putting your seeds in a fertile ground, which doubles the gold that it produces. And then you can put down a mill next to it, which mills the seed, and the mill will make more gold if it's next to a seed plant. And then you can put a bakery next to the mill, which gets more gold from the mill. So it's all kind of like a domino effect of where you want to put stuff. Now, obviously, this is all different depending on which island is generated for you, because some things work well and some things don't. All the while, you'll be looking at every single turn of getting more and more gold and generating more and more every single turn so that you hit the threshold, so that you then get a choice of one of 3 packs of cards to drop into your hand to keep you going. Also, underneath the gold thing on the left hand side, you'll see that there are 3 different kind of mini quests that are going on at the same time. These will also generate additional gold for you and an additional card sometimes too. And these are largely linked to agriculture, religion or temple ceremonies, or entertainment such as theatres, taverns, arena battling, that kind of thing. So what you need to do is consider what those goals are over there, because they're quite handy to boost your gold and get you some rarer cards. And then consider what you're going to pull from those 3 stacks, which selection of cards you're going to go for when you cross the gold threshold, assuming you get there. This continues on until you run out of cards, and then however much gold you made in the First Days of Atlantis is your high score, and then it goes off onto the online leaderboard to see where you're at. Now, whilst the game doesn't exactly look sparkly, it certainly does the job, and the strategy is there and works to a degree, but I kept finding myself stumbling over a couple of key issues around how cards are dealt. And I don't know if this is just me not getting the game or if there's a fundamental flaw here. Because when I was looking at the online leaderboards, a lot of people are stumbling at exactly the same point I am, so maybe we've just not clocked it. As you go through different cards, these cards get more and more powerful as you go along, and lesser cards that will kind of feel like your starters, like houses, for example, or seeds to grow crop fields, fall by the wayside and don't really become available as you progress through the game, getting bigger and bigger and more powerful buildings as you go. The problem with this is that you're then left with additional quests that won't clear because you haven't been given enough houses or villas or taverns or theatres or seed crops or shepherds to actually progress and clear those to then keep going. So I'd always get to around the 17,000 gold mark and run out of cards because I couldn't generate anything and clear any of these extra missions because houses were no longer being offered, and it seemed to especially be houses that were the problem here. And so I didn't quite understand if I was doing something wrong or if the game is just being stingy with these types of cards and it's just the luck of the random generation that kept on flummoxing me at exactly the same point in every single game that I played. Looking at the online leaderboard, a few people have gone further beyond what I have, but I'm fourth on the leaderboard. Admittedly, this is pre-release. And that kind of made me go, other people were stuck too, I think. So for me, First Days of Atlantis needs a little bit of rebalancing around this housing situation that's going on. It feels very real. Very modern day, that problem. Which is a shame, because actually, from a strategic point of view, the game works perfectly fine. It's not one that you're going to have to be poring over for hours and hours as you kind of think about what you want to do. A game can last 20 to 30 minutes, probably a bit longer if you're able to get beyond where I can get to. But it is engrossing and it is fun, and it's interesting to kind of match together all of the different connections of buildings so that you can see that gold wave at the end of each card placement kind of go through, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger because every building you place earns money for you every turn. And that gives like a nice warming reward when you've got a real juicy Atlantis going and it goes and like all these cogs explode everywhere with money and coins, and I'm like, yes, make me rich, please. It's quite rewarding as a single player, chill out, relaxed, go at your own pace strategy game. Just for me, it feels like it needs some rebalancing or some kind of text tutorial somewhere that can explain a couple of nuanced details to the rules that I may have clearly completely misunderstood. If you're interested in this, it's out tomorrow on PC. A written review will be over on highplanegames.com. And if you found this review informative or interesting, please give us a thumbs up because it helps me out with YouTube, who don't know what to do with me because I play too many different games. You guys take care. Happy gaming. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/Higher Plane Network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.